Welcome to Early Intellect's Learning Channel. My name is Claire Thomas. I am the founder of Early Intellect. I am an educator. I am an advocate for early learning and early childhood education. And I'm excited to share knowledge with you today. Don't forget to click like and subscribe so you don't ever miss a video that I post. So today we are going to be talking about kindergarten readiness. It is a buzzword that I'm sure you've already been hearing and that you will continue to hear the months before back to school, the months before September. Kindergarten readiness. Everywhere you look, you'll see it, you'll hear it, and I am here to talk about it with you today. What it really means to be kindergarten ready. Is there such a thing? And what goes into your child being kindergarten ready? So one thing you might notice when companies or other people talk to you about kindergarten readiness, a lot of time the focus is academics. Oh, your child is not kindergarten ready unless they know how to read, unless they know all of their letters, unless they know their numbers, unless they can count to 100, unless they can do this and this and that. And listen, I am an advocate for early learning. I will never tell a parent to not focus on academics, to not work on letters, to not work on numbers. But you also need to know that that is not all that goes into being kindergarten ready. There are things that you can do to help your child become ready for school, to enter kindergarten, that never even have to, when you never even have to touch letters and numbers, and your child can still be ready to enter kindergarten. And so the pressure that is being put on parents, and then the pressure that is then being put on children to be kindergarten ready, without really knowing all that goes into it, is just too much. And so I wanted to do this video just to share a little bit more about what you can be doing right now if you have a child who is ready to enter kindergarten in the next couple of months, to really get them ready. And let me tell you something. Most of the things that I'm going to be sharing have nothing to do with academics. I will share a little bit about academics, but most of the things that I will say will help your child really truly be ready for kindergarten, be ready for this new experience, have nothing to do with them reading, have nothing to do with them adding, subtracting, counting to 100, adding within 100, none of that. People talk about kindergarten readiness, they're talking about the skills that are important, the skills that your child needs when they enter kindergarten. And I do believe that there is a set of skills that are extremely important and are beneficial for a child to have as they are entering school. Now, for a lot of children, kindergarten is their first time in school. They may have remained home with their parents, or they may have remained home with a family member, or been attending a child care center and not attending preschool. Preschool is not required in many states, and neither is kindergarten, but a lot more children do attend kindergarten than preschool. And so it could be the first time for a lot of children, which is why I think parents are just feel the pressure of wanting them to be ready. And kindergarten is also kind of like the first real experience with traditional schooling. So let's talk a little bit about what you can do, or what goes into your child really being ready for kindergarten. I've split up the skills that your child needs to know, or the skills that you should be focusing on with your child, in 5 different categories. So the first category is self-awareness. We will also talk about independence, social, fine motor, and finally we will also be talking about the academic skills that you can choose to focus on. So let's get started with self-awareness. So self-awareness is just that, just them being aware of themselves, being aware of who they are. And one of the biggest pieces of that is being able to know and recognize their name. So actually knowing their given name. A couple of years back on my first day, I was calling one of the children, and I was like, oh, and this one child was in my class. She was not on my list. She told me a different name. All day I called her by that name, and it turns out she was on my list, but she was called a different name at home. So a lot of children are given nicknames. You maybe have been calling them by their nickname. Their whole family calls them by that nickname their whole life. But when they get to school, it's going to be the name, whatever name you put down, whatever name is on the registration. And so you want to make sure that they know their name and recognize their name and be able to write their name. It's one of the things that we get started with immediately in kindergarten. And so if they do know how to write their name, they know how to spell their name, it helps greatly. Another thing that falls under just self-awareness is being able to recognize and name their emotions and knowing how to handle what they are feeling. So being able to know, I'm feeling worried right now, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling mad, and knowing what they are able to do to calm themselves down, what they are able to do to help them with that emotion. So naming that emotion, knowing how to handle it, knowing how to get back to just being themselves, knowing that all of those emotions are okay, but that there are ways that are appropriate to display them and there are ways that are inappropriate to display them. And so talking about those things beforehand, working on those things beforehand will be especially great when you're in helping your child really be ready to enter school. And the third thing is being able to identify family members, especially if you're not the one who is going to be picking up your child. And so if it's going to be a bus driver, a babysitter, grandma, an aunt, an older cousin, them being able to recognize and name those people and just being comfortable enough to even leave with them. Because to me, it's always a red flag if somebody comes to pick up a child and they don't know their name, they just are not looking comfortable to go with them. Some may even cry. So you want to make sure that you are allowing your child to be familiar with those family members, naming them, and also that they are aware ahead of time that this is going to be happening, that this is something that they should be just expecting to happen, that it's not coming out of nowhere. So those are all those skills that fall under self-awareness. But how do you practice them? So there's so many great ways to practice your child learning their name. So some of the ways is having a display of their name somewhere. So having it hanging up so that they can see it. You can have their name up on the fridge with magnet letters. You can have you can create a little banner and hang it up in their room. Just knowing and being able to recognize their name. You can create some name collages. You can have a little Ziploc bag with their name on a card, their name with magnet letters, and practice building and spelling out their name, teaching them the letters of their name. And so those are some ideas in order to practice that. When it comes to talking about emotions, you want to read some books about emotions. I'm going to be linking a resource with a book list that talk about different emotions. Come up with a list of ways to handle the different types of emotions. So when you're sad, here are 3 things that you can do. When you are feeling angry, when you are feeling anxious, here are some things that you're able to do. So name those emotions and be proactive about providing them just ways to handle them, ways to talk about them, ways to name them, and normalize naming the feelings. Normalize your child letting you know that they are upset, they are angry, and talk through how you can make the situation better, how they can make the situation better, and self-regulate. So these are some things that you can be working on throughout the summer, that you can be sprinkling on, that can really help your child when they are starting on that first day. As far as being able to recognize family members, look at pictures, spend time with those people if possible. If it's going to be a babysitter, maybe have them start a week in advance so that your child can get to spend time with them. Have them be around those people. Make sure that they know those people's names. So go over them constantly so that they know what to expect and what is coming. All right, on to number 2, which is focusing on skills that foster independence. So one thing that is so important and something that you can be working on throughout the summer is your child being able to take care of their bodily functions independently. When they do enter kindergarten, we do not, although we may accompany them to the bathrooms, they are taking care of all their bathroom needs independently. So they're going into the stall independently. They are washing their hands independently. All of those things are done by themselves. And so you want to make sure that your child knows how to do that. They know how to handle all bodily functions from beginning to the end. So they know to go into the stall, to close the door. They know to use the bathroom. They know to wipe after using the bathroom. They know to go in and wash their hands and dry their hands. So all those things are things that can be worked on throughout the summer. So if you are someone who still goes into the bathroom with your child, start slow. Allow them time to do this on their own so that they can practice, so that by the time September comes around, by the time August comes around and they're entering kindergarten, this is something that they have been practicing. It's something that they are used to and can handle on their own. Also, being able to just independently eat, get their food, eat. All of those things are things that you might not really think of if you always open your child's water bottle, if you always open all of their snacks, all the things for them. Start allowing them to open some of them on their own. When they go to lunch, I know at least for our school in our district and many districts around us, the children do not eat lunch in the classroom. They eat lunch in the cafeteria. And for my school specifically, my students eat lunch downstairs with the other kindergarten class, first grade, second grade. And although I do have an aide, not every district does that. And that one person is supervising a ton of other children. And so there's not a lot of room for individual help. So they may be waiting, and if they do need it, they may be waiting a while as that one person who is handling lunch, or those couple of people who are handling lunch and are supervising all of these children, go around. And so you want to make sure that they are independent enough in that area where they're able to open their own water bottle. They're able to go into their lunchbox and take out the snacks that you have provided, and they're able to independently at least start that process and be able to eat independently, because that's one very important skill that I think sometimes get looked over when we're focused, and because it's not something that you may think about if you are just one-on-one with your child, or if you are not. It's just not something that we think about. And so that's something that you can be focusing on during the summer to help your child become kindergarten ready. Another thing with independence, being able to recognize their belongings and hang up their belongings. So anything that they are coming to school with, a backpack, a jacket, knowing that this is yours, this belongs to you, this is a jacket you wore, this is the backpack you wore. So get them their backpack a couple of weeks ahead so that they remember it. Add something to their backpack that they like, that they'll know, that they'll remember, so that they can be able to recognize it easily when it's time to get their stuff, when it's time to gather their stuff. And you also want to make sure that anything that they are wearing, anything that you're sending with them, you label it, and that will also help. So if they're able to recognize their name, they can see their name on their materials, they can see their name on their backpack, and they can know that it belongs to them. So these are just some things that fall under the category of independence, and some things that can allow your child to just be better prepared as they are entering kindergarten. On to number 3, the social aspect of being kindergarten ready. So I have a couple of points under here. So the first one is understanding the role of a teacher. So before your child enters school for the first time, talk to them about what they can expect with their teacher. A lot of children come into the school situation not knowing this exactly and not being comfortable. They should know and understand that the teacher is another adult. The teacher is a safe space for them, that they should be comfortable asking for help. If they are feeling sick, if they are feeling hungry, if they're feeling just anywhere that they're feeling, anything that they need, that they should be comfortable enough to tell the teacher, to let the teacher know. If something is going on with their peers and they need help, they should know that the teacher is who they should be speaking with, who they should be telling. Some children just do not know that, and it does take some children a little while to be comfortable and to know the role of the teacher. But this is something that you can talk about with your child ahead of time. If you are not feeling well, if you need something, the teacher, that's the adult in the room, you can tell them. They will help you. Just like you would tell me that you need something, you tell your teacher that you need something. So this is something that we may not think about, but it's something that can really affect your child if they don't know the role of the teacher, if they don't know the role of other adults in the building, because they can be trying to problem solve on their own when they don't necessarily have to. The other thing is to be able to, it goes hand in hand, be able to ask for help. So talk with your child often about what it looks like to ask for help in the classroom. If they need help, whether it's with their academics, if they need more time to do something, if they don't understand what was said, teach your child and encourage your child to ask for help, to go to the teacher, to go to whatever adult is in the room, whatever adult was with them in the moment. So if they are in the cafeteria eating lunch, if they are outside, find those adults and know that they are the ones that they should be going to for whatever they need. My next point is to be able to express themselves with peers. This is also a very important one. You want to be talking with your child, especially if they haven't been around many other children in school setting, about what it looks like and what it sounds like to enforce boundaries with their friends. If somebody is doing something that you don't like, let them know. I don't like that. Please stop. If somebody is pushing you, I don't like to be pushed. Please stop. I'm using this right now. You can use it when I'm all done. So just allowing them to have the language that they need to express themselves with their peers. They are going to come across situations where their peers may be doing something to them that they don't like or they're not comfortable with, and they need to have the language to express themselves. So that's something that you can be talking about, that you can be working on as you are preparing for your child to enter school in the fall. Something else to keep in mind is to talk to your child about appropriate language in school. Listen, what you do at home, how you speak at home, may not be the same way that they can speak at school. There are parents who, you may curse in front of your child. You may use different types of language in front of your child that may not necessarily be appropriate for the classroom. And while, your child says the curse word here and there, it's funny because they're repeating what you said, they're absorbing everything. But when they get into the classroom and they are continuing that behavior, that can be a little bit of a problem. And so you want to make sure that you talk to them about what's appropriate language to use at school, what's appropriate language to use with their peers. Every word that you hear an adult say is not a word that you need to be saying. And so this is something that I do talk to. If I hear a student saying something inappropriate, I will tell them, and they'll be like, well, my sister says this, or my uncle says this, my mom says this. Well, they are adults, and there are words that are appropriate for adults. There are words that are appropriate for home that are not appropriate for school. And so that is one thing that you can be talking about and just preparing your child for as you're thinking about them moving on to kindergarten. All right, our next category is fine motor skills. This is a really important one. So fine motor skills refer to just the muscles in your child's hand and developing those muscles. Those muscles are responsible for your child being able to write, for your child being able to just do other daily things that occur in their daily lives, like buttoning up their shirt, tying their shoe. All of those involved their fine motor skills. And so this is something that you need to be working on, strengthening their fine motor skills. That is going to help them be able to become a writer. One of the things that we do as soon as we get into kindergarten, we are writing right away. We are writing their names, we are starting to write letters, and so this is something that you can start doing with your child and working on with your child, strengthening their motor skills throughout the summer. So some of the ways that you can do this is through the use of Play-Doh, having your child play with Play-Doh, having your child paint with paintbrushes, color with crayons, draw outside with chalk. All of those things help promote fine motor skills. Picking up small objects and placing them in different things. All of those things help to develop your child's fine motor skills, which will then, the stronger their motor skills, the easier it's going to be for them to adjust to holding a pencil, to adjust to writing. And it's going to help their kindergarten journey start a little bit more smoothly if they come in having strong motor skills, having strong fine motor skills. And last but not least, academics. So I know that when people tend to hear about kindergarten readiness, academics is the number one thing. And again, I will never tell someone not to focus on academics with their child, but it should not be your only focus. So your child does not need to enter kindergarten knowing how to read. Okay? They do not need to enter kindergarten knowing how to write multiple sentences. It's amazing if they do. It's great, but it is not something that is a must. But you should, throughout the summer, be exposing them to letters, to letter sounds, letter names. You should be exposing them to numbers, counting with them, because those things will ultimately help them once they start learning these things. If they have already been exposed to them, if they have already been learning them. So for the alphabet, read books, have magnet letters, expose them to those letters, talk to them about the letters in their name, teach them the letters, start teaching them the letter sounds, expose them to a few sounds a week, teach them a couple of letters a week. I have an entire training on introducing your child to the alphabet that I will also put the link to if you are interested in just learning more about how to do this in a pressure-free way so that your child can start being really just exposed to the alphabet to start their reading journey. Again, not necessary to do before entering kindergarten, but it is always a great place to start. Also, introducing your child to numbers. So this can be done throughout your daily activities. As you are setting the table, counting the number of plates that you need, counting the number of items you brought from the grocery store. So just being able to count, introducing them to identify some numbers, some letters. Those are all things that you are able to focus on and that you should focus on throughout the summer to help your child just be ready for what's to come, be ready for their first experience in school. I hope this video was helpful. Again, don't forget to like, to subscribe so you can know when I post any new videos. I'm excited for you and for your child who's going to be entering kindergarten. And remember, you have the power to make it pressure-free for them. You have the power to make their experience a good one. And again, thank you for tuning in.